Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. Not long ago, I was in my favorite little antique shop and she had a huge selection of vintage Valentines, and I couldn't help but start looking through them. They brought back great memories of grade school, but they also sparked some inspiration. So I went through all of her vintage Valentines and pulled out some ones that were a little different and ones that I knew I had dies that were similar to the picture on the Valentine. So I want to show you what I did with them, how I used them for inspiration. I also went home and started shopping my stash and went through a number of dies and a few stamps to see what I could find to kind of replicate the vintage Valentine, but in a different way. So let me show you the Valentine that I got. I love looking at these. She had a ton of them to go through. So this is one that I got because when I looked at it, I thought, okay, I got the heart. I have bees, a flower. I could do that. But I want to show you this one because a lot of times they're just one level or one layer. But this one is actually a card that's had a lot of love, and I didn't try to do anything with the inside of it. And this one is blank on the back, but some of them have names, the to and from names. So this is the first one. Let me show you what I did, and then I'll show you the products that I used. I am going to be sharing with you a mix of old and new dies today, not just new. So this is what I did. I changed the wording a little bit because initially I thought I'm going to go on to the computer and I'll get a Valentine, figure out how to kind of do this and print it off the computer and then die cut it. But I'm going to show you another one where I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to handwrite it in. Now, this one is a die cut letters, but after this, everything is handwritten. So this was the one that's vintage. This is my interpretation of it. I love these little bees, but I don't have little bees. Maybe in a stamp I have one with faces, but what I have is a die. So I don't have to make it identical, and that wasn't what I was going for. So for my bees, I knew I had a Sizzix die, and this is not the one that I was particularly looking for, but it works. I have 3 different size bees to choose from. This is called Beehive. I have prices on mine so you can see how old some of these are. And for my heart dies, for all of my dies that I used, I have this old Spellbinders nesting heart die. I know Spellbinders has a more recent nesting heart die, but once I found this, I thought this will work. So the largest die is this one right here. And then for let's go back to the bees here. The flower is from the Sizzix set 2. And then Be Mine, I changed it because I knew Valentine's, I didn't have anything small enough letter-wise to fit in there. So this is the smallest letter set die I have, alphanumeric label from Tim Holtz. And then Will You is handwritten with a white gel pen. But this will get us started. And that's my first Valentine that I put a little different twist on it using dies that I had in my stash. Okay, so this next one I absolutely love. This little witch. And a lot of these are not traditional, the cute animals. I mean, those are all great, but I was looking for things that were a little different. So this one, these were those little cards, and this does have a little envelope with it. But this one just is unused from the past. So, hi, Valentine, you bewitch me. I knew I would have some kind of a little girl figure, whether it's a die or stamp. So this is the one that I made. Almost the same, but just using dies that I have. So for my little witch, I knew I had this one at home in my stash. This is an older witch from Elizabeth Craft called Witch. But I like that face is perfect. And then I needed a cauldron. And I have one, but it's from Memory Box, but it was way too small. But I also know I had the Witch and Cauldron from Karen Burniston. So the cauldron is really big. So I just cut it down. I didn't need the whole cauldron, and I used the bubbles in this die set. And then if I didn't have her, if you have this witch, this is still a possibility. You could still use her. She's much smaller, but you don't have to make it identical. But you could still get a witch and maybe something smaller for, like if you had a bowl or something, you could put some legs on for the cauldron and then just punch out some circles for all the boiling water there. For my little bitty hearts, I had a die that these are the dropout pieces. I needed some little ones, so I just found something that I had a lot of little dropout hearts in my high, and You Bewitch Me. Those hearts are from the Spellbinder's Nesting set. And then I just hand wrote. I thought there's no way I can do that on the computer. I hand wrote it because most everything is printed. And when I really looked at this, I was like, that looks like someone's handwriting, just printing it out in capital letters. So after that, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And that's when I went back to this and just hand wrote in Will You. Had I thought of this first, I would have done this one just like this. But so much easier just to print. I know we don't like our handwriting a lot of times, but if you can just do kind of straight block letters, easier than trying to figure that out on a computer. So needless to say, I loved the little Valentine witch. That's right up my alley. And then here's another one. This one is different. And it's a little soda pop bottle. I'll blow my top if you won't be my Valentine. And I'm going to turn this over because some of them have who they were originally from. And I love that someone saved all these. Now, I knew I had a pop bottle somewhere, so I could at least have the main feature. Here's my version. And again, I just wrote everything in by hand. One little thing I did learn later on is if you're not sure, kind of, you want to have a little practice session before you actually do it on your good one, because I had this all together. I should have cut this out of scratch paper and then just hand and practice basically printing this out, how big, because I wanted, this centered and all of that. So I could have made this a little bigger. So I learned that after I had this together and then thought, oh my gosh, this is my final one. Cut it out of scratch paper, practice before you need to do it on your actual die cuts. So my hearts again, as always, from the Spellbinders die. My pop bottle, I knew I had this, and this is from My Favorite Things. I don't think this, oh yes, soda pop bottles. I know My Favorite Things is no longer in business, but I know other companies have also made a soda pop bottle. So whether it's as large as this, larger or smaller, it would still work. And then way up here at the top, I've got my little the cap for the pop bottle. And again, hand printed it in. This is all from the die. And then my little dropout hearts that I used. I think it was a cover plate die that I got all these little dropout hearts. So not that hard, very different. That's what I like about these. Some of these are very, very different. This one I loved when I saw it. Again, not your typical Valentine card. Let's see, this one does have a little name on the back. I'm crowing Valentine 'cause you're mine. I knew I had a chicken, not this like side view of the chicken, but I had a big chicken. So let me show you the card, how I interpreted it to what I had. And again, the hearts I could just print in. This one, I hand cut this heart and then wrote into it because I don't have a heart kind of that shape. And Valentine, I did have that. So I thought, I'm going to give myself a break and I'll just die cut that out. So for my chicken is from Hero Arts. This is called Peking Chicken. Now, my chicken is not a full-length body chicken. It only goes like to the bottom of this fence here. That's why mine is behind a fence. And my fence is also from Hero Arts wood fence. So my chicken stops like somewhere along this board here in the fence, but I didn't want this empty behind it, so I just cut a piece of paper and lined it up so it looks like the body continues down. And then I needed some kind of feet, and I'm not going to be fancy like these feet, so what I did is just took a little sliver of yellow paper and just kind of cut it in and made it look kind of like this, just to give you the idea that there were some feet on that chicken. And then again, just printed everything in. Valentine's is probably the only second sentiment die I have for Valentine's Day. This is from Spellbinders, Marry Everything Words. So I just took the Valentines and trimmed off the ENS and attached it to the fence. So I love this one because, for one, it's different and not your typical Valentine card. So this next one I really liked as well because it's different. And I wasn't exactly sure what all pieces I had for this, but I thought I'll make it work. Where this little girl is got her pencil and she's going dot to dot to make a bear. So it's 1, 2, 3. Join them together so you can see who brings this Valentine to you from me. And I have to say, I have to give a lot of credit to the people that came up with the sentiments for all of these different Valentines. So here's my version of it. And I thought I'll find a die, whatever animal you want that I could kind of go around and make a dot to dot. And again, this was a hand cut heart. I'll show you that. And then I don't have a lot of people dies. So I'm like, I got to go through my stash and see what I can find as far as people dies. And I found this one, which I honestly had no idea that I had and have no idea where I got it. This is from Hero Arts. So it has a die set and the faces in it. Let me see what this is called here. But when I saw this, I thought, I've got to use this. How perfect is this? So, Hero Lifestyle Forms and the Hero Lifestyle Faces. So these came together in one package when I got it, wherever that was that I found that. So let me tell you a little bit how I did this one. Let me show you what this is, and then we'll talk about it. So here's the one where I did the dot to dot, so you can see after my recipient gets it and they do the dot to dot thing, it's Winnie the Pooh. So I went to one of my Winnie dies from Spellbinders, Pooh and Piglet, and I just die cut out the pieces for Winnie, put them together, and then I did die cut my own heart. So I just kind of laid this on a piece of paper. I just kind of drew out a heart and wanted to make sure he would fit on this. So when I opened it up, then I could see that, yeah, he fit. So I laid him down, and I actually, because I wanted him to face my person, I laid him down and just went around and put a bunch of little dots. And I also marked it on my die cut so I could do this on another piece and know where I had all my little numbers. I have probably way too many numbers, so either I need to spread them out a little bit. If I look at this one, I don't have near as many numbers. This one has a total of 57. I have a total of 71 points. So if I had a little more simplified figure, I'd probably have less dots, and I could have spread some of these out a little more as well. I just had to draw on the eye and the mouth, the little eyebrow, the nose, and then this little line here for his neck. And then I did a little one here on the foot because it's die cut that way. So whatever animal or figure, whatever you want to put in the heart, you could. And then I just put it on a piece of paper, hand wrote all this in. Again, this is one where I should have put it on a piece of scratch paper and wrote this out. And I might have spaced it out and written it a little larger, but it still worked. My pencil, again, I know a number of pencil dies out there. I used the Spellbinders Field Notes tools because this gave me quite a bit of space to write. Count the dots, which I thought was interesting. Instead of connecting the dots, it does say count the dots. Now, I want to show you another die that I would have used for this person had I not found this one and just felt like I had to use it. But that is Karen Burniston's People Die. And of course, I forgot the die itself. But this is a relatively new die. It is Karen Burniston. And I apologize. I'll put in the description the name of this die set. But I just made all these kind of different people. just for ideas as I use that die, but I'm going to use this gal here because the way her arms are positioned, so she can hold that pencil too, and I could use her. I'll just kind of put this up here. You can see kind of the same size there, but I could use one of Karen's people to do the same thing, holding the pencil, pointing to the heart. So she's a little more the size of what's on my card. So again, just because you don't have one type of die, you definitely can search in your stash. Stamps are another place to look because I probably have a lot more stamps for people than I do dies for people. But I like this. It's different. I could change this up any way that I want. My two little hearts, again, are from that Spellbinders nesting die. And the last one that I have to share with you, I love this one. This is the first one I found, and this is probably the one that I thought I can get inspiration from these and come up with my own. So this is a diorama card, and I thought this was so cool. There's 3 layers to it. And the side here, we've seen that before for our diorama cards. And I will just read the bottom. I would not go sightseeing. I would not care to roam, and leave the one that I love best stalled, hard, and fast at home. So we've got our little sweethearts. This is supposed to be a bus. We've got our bus driver, sweethearts, and then a third passenger there in the back. I think he's reading a newspaper or something. But when I saw this, this is really what set me off on. I could use some of these for great inspiration. The first thing I knew is what I would use for the base of this card. And from Spellbinders several years ago, probably longer than I realized, they had these arch dies. So this is the Grand Arch 3D card. There were a bunch of these. And it doesn't matter really. So I have kind of a rectangle here, but there's different shapes. I did not use the inside. I just used this outer die, which I'll show you in just a minute. But if you have any of these will work. You're not going to use the insides. You're going to use the outer die. And then this side here had these slots already in them. So here's a couple more. So whatever shape you wanted to use, it will work. So I die cut that outer die. And this is what I came up with. So my participants or my riders in the cab, I made mine as a cab, are not people, but rather dogs, because I don't have any people dies. I don't have any head dies big enough to fill a card like this. So I thought, I've got these dogs. This is a brand new collection from Elizabeth Craft, so I'll show you some of those, but it's the same type of thing. And I used the Spellbinders die, even though it had, 4 or 5 little slots. I just used one. I don't have to use them all. So I've got my cab driver, who's a dog, my sweethearts, who are a pair of dogs, and in the back, I didn't want to put another dog because it's a cab. I thought I'll put some dog food back there. So it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but there's a couple bags of dog food. So let me show you what I use for this. This is a brand new collection that I just arrived on the doorstep. And when I cut this frame out, I thought, I wonder if I have something that will fit that. Let me go back 1 second. When you just cut this outer die, it's just one solid frame with these little hinge things on the side. So I had to take a die cut, and I went through my die cuts, and I found one. Let's flip it over. That created an opening. So I just cut the opening the same way through all 3 pieces of all 3 layers of my card. And then I found this car, which this is what got me started. This is a brand new die from Elizabeth Craft. This is called Car, and this is a brand new collection with the dogs from Josette for Elizabeth Craft Designs. But that car, I cut that out and it fit perfectly, and so I'm like, I've got to use the dogs. So the dog set is called simply Dogs, and all sorts of pieces here. You can make whatever kind of dog. There's several different styles of ears. There's a standing dog, a laying dog, and then the sitting dog. But Think of how you could mix and match all these pieces to make your dog look like your dog, your puppy, your dog, or someone else's. Love this. Obviously, I'm going to be playing with this a lot, being a dog lover. So I could make 3 different style dogs there. And then I wanted to dress them, but I didn't want to go overboard. But there is a dog clothing accessories die. So I just used a couple pieces out of this. This cap was great for my driver, and then I used the tie for the guy and the bow for the gal. Again, it's you can't see them real well, but you can see them a little bit. And then I used the blanket from the dog accessories. So here's a dog bed. I just used the blanket here because then I thought I don't need to make the legs and everything, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but I just need to make their front legs and their upper body, and then I just put the blanket kind of like they had it over them, and then I didn't have to worry about any legs on the bottom half. And then I also have my 2 bags of dog food from this die set as well that are in the back, the very back seat there. So I was able to create this card. I laid it out a little differently. So on this one, this side piece is the wheel. Well, my wheels are not nearly as big, and the sentiment was here on the front. Because I did not have the room on this one, I just hand wrote it on the back. I did write it on a separate piece of paper. I finally learned, try it on a separate piece of paper, and then if it all goes well, just attach it to the back. And I left room to write a personal little note as well. So that is the inspiration I received from some darling and different Valentines. I enjoyed working on these because I could remember as a kid getting the Valentines in grade school, and then you'd sit and open those at the end of the day. You had a little Valentine party. So if you're struggling for some ideas on Valentines, just get online and look at some vintage cards and see what kind of inspiration they give you to go dig through your stash and come up with some really different, unique Valentines. And I even have a few more. This is one Pluto. I think I actually have like a little Pluto die. So I have a couple more that I can keep working on. This one, I was sure I had French fries dies, but they just didn't work, and I didn't have a ketchup bottle handy. So I need to keep digging for that one too. So again, here's some inspiration using vintage Valentine cards and stuff that you have in your stash for this year's Valentine's cards. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in a future video.